Hey guys, Taylor with GammaEdge here, coming at you with a post-market recap for August 12th, 2025. Quite the melt up that we had today. We're just going to get straight to it, getting our pre-market prep in terms of those key levels, key transition zones we go through every day. Then we'll look at our intraday tools to kind of show us how that helped us identify that persisting trend throughout the session. So as we do every day, start with the SPX game plan. Here we go through SPX-A, SPX-P, full complex, and 0DT. Right, you can see robust right up. On the full complex, we focus on structure, sentiment, and identifying when we're seeing those key changes day over day. And since we are the sponsor of this video, I wanted to show you GammaEdge.us. If you're new to us, unfamiliar with the terms that we're using, unfamiliar with our framework, anything like that, we have blogs written over 25 this year. We have free courses. I'm going to direct you to specifically the GammaEdge FastPass. This is everything a paid member gets in the community in terms of our methodology, in terms of how you use the tools, our frameworks, trading strategies, all that good stuff. So free for you. All you gotta do is sign up, invest a little bit of time, and it should benefit your trading. Right, and so with that, getting in specifically the SPX 0DTE, thing you'll notice is that the transition zone today was quite wide. Right, you can see clear, top of the transition zone. We kind of have it marked at 6,400, 6,405. 6,405 was the true top of the transition zone, but 6,400 is a key kind of psychological level, something worth noting. And then to the downside, 63.75 was a key. That's your first put dominated strike. Obviously, we had this little node down here at 63.50, which is why the transition zone extended as far down as it did. But 75 was a key level, and then 63.40, which was the bottom of the drunken sailor range. All that to say, if we break 63.40 to the downside, it would be a bit more concerning for the bullish case. And in terms of the bears on an intraday basis had control at that point. We want to see, intraday volume, market trend model trending down if that were to happen. However, to the upside, want to see a break above 64.10. Right, and just going through a couple key levels, right, you can see, we have 5-10 different levels that we hit on every day, some more important than others. Right, one of those being the top of the drunken sailor range, 64.05, very important level, right? Bulls want to see that being take of. Next one to the upside was 64.25. This is COTMP, potential kind of monetization level. And then, right, if we were to see market trend model, if we were to see intraday volume analysis continue to press higher, which just means persistent buying is in the market throughout the day, then 64.50 is kind of that key topside level that we were looking at. Right, and so what's important to note right off the open, right off 6,400, a little bit of an impulse buy, similar action as yesterday. Well, let me rephrase that, not similar action as yesterday, just the initial impulse higher. Then we got a pullback, and once we overtook our top of our transition zone again at that point, did we know that we were going to blast away throughout the entire session at that point in time? No, but we knew once we break above the top of drunken sailor range, we expect to see a continuation higher. And right, a couple key levels I have marked out here. First one is 64.25. That was COTMC. Remember that, kind of a key potential monetization level. Right, and we did get some stalling at that level, but then we just persisted throughout the remainder of the session. Why? Because buying was coming into the market throughout the session. How is that evidence? First thing we look at is our market trend model. Again, on an intraday basis, we could see, just a linear update is what we call this, persistent buying throughout the entire session. Looking at the filtered tick, we saw significant buying coming into the session. That's what that measures. So again, using this tool, very helpful to understand on an intraday basis, under the hood, folks were buying throughout the session. Not only that, looking at our intraday volume analysis at SPX 0DTE, we can see that, these channels were moving higher throughout the session as well. Granted, keep in mind the call side was not quite the angle that the put side had, so hence kind of why we got that grinding action higher, but nonetheless, put side was definitively higher, so, any pull, not a risk of like a material waterfall, because we didn't see any persistent move lower. And right, again, backing that up with the market trend model, backing that up with overtaking the key 6,400, 6,405 level. It's basically just riding the trend higher. And then right, as traders, once we kind of identify what the trend is, once we identify when those key levels are overtaken, then it's our jobs to kind of understand how we want to get into a trade based off, the thesis that you lay out in the pre-market, we lay out in the pre-market, and you copy it. Whatever it is, right? We had folks, doing long futures trades today. We had some people doing long verticals. We had some people long calls. The point of this is, there's multiple ways that you can execute the trade. What's most important is really just having a plan of understanding where those key levels are at. And then we really love to have this intraday trend analysis on our side, so we can understand, the character of price action and then where price action is likely to head, assuming all things equal. Right, and here's an example of that, just so I can show you an intraday example, because we just showed end of the day. Which, right, end of the day is useful because professional athletes watch game tape. So why wouldn't we watch game tape of what happened? But just the utility of this tool. So what this is showing us is from the open until 12:35 Eastern. This is all of the centroids, the volume activity that happened on the call side, put side down here. So assuming all things equal, we can project out if this is what happened, this is what likely to persist to happen throughout the close. So again, we can understand the character of price action and then where price is likely to go based off of where transactions are going to be transacting. And so that's all I got for you guys tonight, right? Things that we covered were pre-market prep, how we identified those key transition zones and upside levels. We also had the downside levels just in case, but obviously wasn't relevant today, just given the price action. Then we also reviewed the market trend model. We reviewed our intraday volume analysis on how that helped us to identify that today was a trending day higher. Then again, don't forget GammaEdge FastPass, GammaEdge, a lot of free resources there. Take advantage of it if you are new to all this stuff. So with that, appreciate your time, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.